And is the United States taking the war in Mexico seriously, or just putting a few Band-Aids here and there? One thing is certain: the violence in Mexico and near our nation's border is growing, and it's growing fast. Arizona Senator John McCain is trying to get attention to this crisis. He is teaming up with Senator Jon Kyl in a new effort to better secure our borders. But what does the senator think the root of the problem is? Senator John McCain went on the record. Mexico. I've been very hard on the administration for not paying more attention. They've spent more money, dedicated more resources, but the numbers of deaths and what I see coming out of Mexico looks like we're losing. Are we losing, and is it a war?
There have been some improvements on the border. What's going on in Mexico is bound to spill over, and some of it has, onto the United States. There are between 75 and 100, most Americans don't know this, 75 and 100 guides sitting on mountaintops in Arizona, guiding with sophisticated communications equipment, guiding the drug smugglers as they come across the border up to Phoenix, Arizona, where now Phoenix, Arizona is the drug distribution capital of America. They're sitting on our mountaintops. And we obviously have now seen a level of violence in Mexico escalate dramatically. There's over 100 bodies have been discovered just in one place.
Well, let me ask you about those bodies. Yeah. I mean, that's just a recent report. And every time you open the paper, there's 100 bodies here, 100 bodies there. They get dragged off a bus, they get executed, and the humanitarian crisis there is growing every time you look at the paper. You were in favor of the no-fly zone in Libya, and we went in for humanitarian reasons. How do you justify humanitarian goals in Libya, and this just keeps building up day after day right next door, and we're doing something, but we're not getting ahead of the game?
First of all, let me say again, if 4 weeks ago we'd enforced declared a no-fly zone, the war would be over. Gaddafi would be out of power. That's just a fact. And the fact that we have withdrawn clearly shows that NATO does not have the wherewithal to successfully prevent, at best, a stalemate in Libya. We have to understand that, one, that we're creating a demand in the United States, and that's a conversation that we got to have more often. Second of all, though, these drug cartels have asserted so much control over Mexico that it is an existential threat to the government of Mexico. There are many Mexicans today that think, well, why try to stop these drugs? Because they're going to the United States. But the fact is, a lot of those drugs are stopping in Mexico as well. There's an election coming up in Mexico. We'll see who wins and on what platform that person runs. But the level of violence is higher than the level of violence in Afghanistan. Let me give you an example. 31,000 Mexican citizens, at least, have been killed in the time that Calderon has been president. In that same period of time, 21,000 Afghan civilians have been killed. That's how violent this situation is.
Well, we have a discussion often about the border. You talk about the sentries posted in Arizona, watching, giving protection to people crossing the border. But there's also the humanitarian issue within Mexico, which is maybe a very unpopular discussion because it means money. But should we be doing something more there, because the numbers are just rolling in, as you just stated? They're just every day more numbers.
We are assisting the Mexican government in a variety of ways. One of the biggest problems, obviously, is corruption in Mexico. The only institution that's really respected is the Mexican army. The fact is that the situation with these drug cartels is that they have really carved out areas that they want to control, and that's one of the reasons why you see there's such a high murder rate, is because they're fighting against one another. But it is a situation that we need to help the Mexicans as much as we possibly can. We are, but I can't tell you that the situation is getting better. Numbers show from the pure level of violence, it's getting worse.
Isn't that a sign to us that we need to sort of regroup and come up with a different idea? If we're pouring all this money in, putting all these resources, but the numbers are getting worse, isn't that a clue that maybe we should regroup and think about how, if we want to help, what we want to do, how to do it, because this solution is not working?
We need to do two things. One, Jon Kyl and I have a 10-point plan that will secure the southwestern border. It takes people, it takes surveillance equipment, and it takes fences. We can do it. There are areas of the border that are secured. San Diego, Yuma, parts of Texas. So we can secure the border. And then We're going to have a national conversation about this demand for drugs that is in the United States of America, that is creating a lot of the problems that we have because of the drugs being transported from South America, or sometimes beginning, in the case of marijuana, in Mexico and coming across our border. We've got to address the demand side.
Senator, thanks, sir. Always nice to see you.
Thank you.